Okay, so today we're papering the roof. Um, I may do the roofing myself. Sometimes I use a roofer. It just depends on how busy I am. No, because this is a real simple roof for somebody like myself that's not a roofer. 412 pitch. It's not even any hips or valleys. Anyway, but irregardless, I like to get it dried in because it's kind of rainy this time of the year. You don't want the wood to just keep getting soaked and soaked and soaked. So I don't mind coming up here and spending maybe an hour to paper the garage here. I spent a couple hour, 2 hours maybe papering the house a couple weeks ago. It's not very windy here, so in this part of the subdivision because there's a lot of trees. So I just the paper's being held down just with the staples. I use one of these tackers with staples. If it's a windier area like some of the other areas we've built in where there's no trees, then I use the plastic, the nails, the little short nails with the round plastic thing, because this can loosen up. Especially like I said, this one's been sitting for a couple weeks, probably sit for a couple more weeks before I order the shingles. I always order from a roofing company because they do a roofing supplier. I don't go to like Home Depot. I did buy this paper at Home Depot because I need it really quick. It's Grip Right brand. It's actually a pretty good brand. It's pretty thick or heavy weighted. But anyway, yeah, because they do rooftop delivery, and whether I'm using roofers or not, I mean, they will carry the shingles up. They don't say anything; they're kind of used to it. But it's like $1 a square more to have rooftop delivery, and it's out of common courtesy in the trades. I'm not gonna, you know, just try to save $1 on 20 square shingles or whatever this ends up being, uh, by not having rooftop delivery. So anyway, so getting back to paper. So what I do is I start the row, I fold it over the edge a little bit, I tack a couple in. The first thing I actually do though is on the first row I get it even with the edge of the plywood, and I put a couple staples in the corner, and then I roll out about 3 or 4 feet, and I move it this way or whichever way I need to keep the edge of the paper even with the edge of the roof. You need to get about 3 or 4 feet out just to know you're staying in line, because you don't want a lot of wrinkles in this and getting it all, putting it on crooked and then trying to straighten it out. So if you roll out 3 or 4 feet and then you start stapling it here and then stapling along here, so now you've got it's on square with the roof. Of course it's going to want to try to get off a square as you're rolling it out. But as I roll it out, I'll roll out another 3 feet, maybe 3 feet, and I keep it lined up with the edge of the roof to keep it nice and straight. Put those staples in, roll a little more, put those staples in, just a couple, maybe like 3 feet at a time, making sure that I'm keeping the edge straight. And then I start the next row, I do the same thing, only now I'm following this line because it's your overlap line. So I'll tack a couple in the corner, I'll get it 3 or 4 feet rolled out here, make sure you're staying straight with this. I'll tack the rest of it, fold it over the edge. I leave it over 3 or 4 inches over, and then put a couple. That'll come off when the guy's roof, or actually when the guys put the trim on, the hardy trim. But it keeps the wind from getting underneath it. You don't want the wind to get underneath, because that's when it starts doing like this, and then it starts wearing its way through the staples. Because this could be here for another few weeks. Before I paper, I come up on here with a blower. I blow the deck off. The reason I do that, you could sweep it too, but you want to get all these little plastics between the nails and the nail gun nails. There's a lot of them laying up here, and then there's also some that they're still stuck to the nail, but they're sticking up. So then with those, the blowers won't blow that off, or the blower won't blow those off. So then I just rub with my foot and get it out. You just want the ones that are sticking out. Here's one I missed. It was stuck on there. Because it could. Now, if you're going to roof right away, it doesn't matter as much. But if you're going to leave it sit for a while before the shingles go on, you just want them poking holes in the paper. So anyways, I blow the roof off. I always use a blower. It's easier than sweeping. But if you don't have a blower, and then I try to get, the ones that won't come off, I try to take them like that and rub them off with my foot. So anyway, so the deck is nice and clean. And anyway, so this deck, there's basically 3 rows, and then there'll be a 4th row, and I'll layer that over the top. I mean, you want to, you want this to cover over enough that it reaches to the other side, and so any water up here is going to run down that way. So if you need to just even put another layer on just to cover a little bit at the top, you want to do that, so that way you're completely dried in. I mean, this is 99% dried in. There's always a couple of little leaks somewhere. Maybe a staple went in too far, but it's dried in enough. I mean, we had heavy rain after I put this on. I think there was 2 spots in the house that had, where there's a little 6 or 8 inch round wet spot on the OSB subfloor. So it's dried in enough. Yeah, I think that covers all of that. Not much more to say about it. Okay, back to work.